Right, I'm going to change the front sprocket on the DRZ 400. It's an S model, so it's not quite as easy to pop up as the E model. So I'm going to make the front sprocket change it from a 15 tooth to a 14 tooth. See what that gets me. I think it's a 47 on the back. So changing the front sprocket for that. Right, so the first thing I've got to do is bend over the tabs. So that you've got a lock-in washer plate on there, and the tabs have been bent over to stop you undoing it, so you've got to bend them back. Top and bottom. Good idea at this point to give it some releasing. I'll use WD-40. Just give it a quick squirt. Give it time to penetrate while you're working on it. Then you get a socket set. Put your socket on, 30mm socket. On there, goes that way. Right, so you want it in first gear, and preferably with the back wheel on the ground so it doesn't spin through the gears, and crack it open. What I've done is put a bit of tubing on, give me some leverage. So it's off now, loose, there you go. So you take that off, put it to one side. It's actually quite, no rust on it, it's quite good condition. So right, put that to one side, get the washer off. You can see it's castellated, there's teeth in it, look. And on the back there you can see the teeth it fits on, so that won't move when it's on there. So that's why when you bend it over it locks the nut on, because that won't spin, and then it locks over onto the nut to stop the nut spinning. So yeah. Put that to one side. Have a check to see if it's loose, and it's actually not seized on or anything, it's quite loose. You can see it moving on the splines there. So the next thing is to get that off. So you can either loosen the back wheel and push everything forward so you can get that off that, or you take the split pin out of the chain, loosen the chain will come off, be in two halves. You'd still have to tighten the back wheel anyway, but you won't get that off with the chain on it, so you've got to take the chain off anyway. So I think that's what I'll do. So you look around the chain and see if you can find the split, and mine is there. So it's easy for me to get that off, so that's what I'll do next. While you're doing this, just to point a note, when you put it back on, you can see that this is like a horseshoe shape, and the horseshoe wants to be facing that way, so the round end is that way, like that, and that's the direction it goes in. Don't put it, when you put it back on, don't put it on the other way. with the teeth like that facing that way. It's got to face that way. Be careful with this because it'll probably ping across the room. Screwdriver's probably a bit too big. There you go. There, like that. See what I'm on about, the shape of it. Actually, this is quite worn. You can see that. If we look end on, see how worn that is on the top. Chain's not really lubricated enough. You could be losing that soon. Chain seems alright though, so I think it's worth me finding another one of those and putting one of them on. Well, that's that. Put that to one side. Go back to the chain. That should come straight off now. The plate. There you go. You see that? Put that to one side. That actually leaves you these two lumps, so they should push through now. See the chain coming apart. I've no doubt that someone else will tell you there's another way of doing this, but this is how I'm doing it. So you can, if you want, that's what you're taking off. I'll put it back in there. That's now loose. So chain's loose, there you go. And away from the sprocket. There you go. So if that doesn't come off, mine does that, obviously you see. If you get one that doesn't come off, get your WD-40 or release spray and leave it on there for 10 minutes, and then you need to lever it, get something behind there and lever that away and all around it. Don't put too much pressure on it, you don't want to break anything, but just lever it away and tap it, get your hammer, tap it around, that'll loosen it up. And as you're doing it, if it doesn't come off again, give it another spray, keep doing the same thing, eventually it'll come off. It's coming. The only reason that's not coming off is there's probably a bit of dirt in there. It's loose. There you go. So it's just a bit of dirt in there. I don't know if you can see that, but see the way the teeth are wearing off to one side, so they're all hooking over. It's not worn out yet, but it's on its way. Alright, so while you've got it off, get that clean. So, if you're anything like me, you'll probably save all your old toothbrushes and that for this sort of job. Perfect. So give it some releasing spray in there and give it a good old clean while you get to it. You don't want any corrosion and that going on the seal. So while you can, give it a go. Wipe all that off, get all the dirt off. Yeah, nice and clean. Right, you don't have to, it's entirely up to you. I always like to put copperies on things that I've taken apart and cleaned, just so next time it's a bit easier to get off and it won't corrode itself on there. So I'll give that a bit of a coating. You can use grease if you want, it's just that this is a bit better. It's worth buying a tub of this. It will last you years and years and years. I've probably had this one over 10 years, probably longer than that if I'm honest. And that's how much I've used just by doing little jobs like this. So everything I'll take apart, I'll give it a coat. All the nuts and bolts and everything I'll clean up and I'll put this on. Just so next time I know it won't be seized on. Or if you sell it, someone else will have the pleasure of being able to get things off where you've had to struggle. So that's ready for that. We've got our new sprocket. And put that on. You'll see which way it goes on actually. If you get confused what way it goes on, you take that back off. Most of the time the writing will be on the front, to be honest with you. Like that one says the size, the circumference and the amount of teeth. That's 14, and the brand name Renthal. And you can see the shape of it. That's quite flat on the back, where that's got a like a part sticking out. That's what the nut will go over. So slide that on. There, push it on the splines. Retrieve your washer. Again, give it a bit of copperies. You don't have to, but I like to. Okay, that'll go on there. I've already put some on the threads. Right, I haven't done it up, just on a hand tight at the moment. I'm going to put the chain back on. Or make sure I can put the chain back on, which I can't. Actually, don't know if it'll fit. No, there's a lesson. There's a lesson I've just taught myself. So, just loosen that. It won't fit. Chain won't go over it if it's on. So, just take that apart, pull it out a bit, put the sprocket inside the chain, like that, and then do it. There you go. And it's on. Washer. Nut. There. Right, now, time to tighten that up. You can use torque settings, I don't know what they are, so I'll just do it, I'll say very tight. Okay. So time to bend the tabs back over. and then on the other side. So right, we now put the chain back on. Push your plate back on. So it wants to go on that way. I think what I'll do, put it on that way, but because it's so worn that side, I'm going to put it upside down, around the other way. There you go. Simple as that. That's now on. See, the chain's a lot looser than it was. Obviously you've lost a tooth, so you're going to have to move the wheel back anyway, but it just makes that a bit easier. So that's your sprocket on, but obviously now the chain's going to be looser, we've got to adjust the chain, so I might as well show you how to do that at the same time. So as you can see how loose the chain is now. I know it's jacked up at the moment, but it just gives you some idea. So we'll lower the bike down off the stand and we'll have a look. So, same scenario, I'm going to use a lever extension. That's a 24mm socket, goes on the bike there. Give that a loosen up. Push that through. Should loosen those off. And what the idea of these are they've got teeth. Of the teeth, and they've got numbers on, and you've got that pin there, and that is elliptical, so the more it moves round, the more it pushes the back wheel backwards. And the idea is you've got them both sides, and if you start off, say, on what are they, 1, 2, 3, if you start off on using number 2 against that, you want number 2 against that on the other side as well, to make sure the back wheel is in line and not crabbing off. So that's what we've got to work out now. See what we're on. And we're on number 2 on that lug there. Number 2 lines up with that. Push that forward a bit so that locks on there. And what you're looking for is to be on number 2 the other side, for instance. And if it isn't, then it's wrong. Right, okay, so that's on number 2 that side at the moment. And we'll give the chain a bit of a, there you go, that doesn't feel too bad actually. What you want is you're looking for that sort of slack. I'll give it a tighten up and then lower the bike again and check whether the slack is the same. If it goes tighter than that, you need it to always be about that much. If it's tighter than that, you're in trouble. So let's tighten her back up. Good idea while you're down here looking around, just to check your brake pads, see how much life they've got on them. Mine aren't looking that fabulous actually. I think that's the job to do next. Right, give this a tighten. And again, I'll put a bar on it. Give me some leverage. Right, so I'm going to lower the bike down off the stand, so all the weight's on the bike. I'm going to have another look at that chain. There you go, that's what you're looking for. So that is the replacement of the front sprocket on the DRZ 400S, from 15 tooth to 14 tooth. Next is to see if it makes any difference, and I'll let you know what happens then. Thanks for watching.